What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here with your second stimulus check update. And we have some really big news from President Donald Trump that he just announced. And we're starting to see more and more big news from the president almost every single day as he tries to garner up enough votes to win the re-election. I'm going to give you all the details of it in this video. But first, if you can, give this video a like down below. It really helps out our channel. My wife and I do all the research for you every single day so we can bring you all the second stimulus check and related news in a quick, concise video. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button down below so you don't miss out on new videos coming out. Okay, first up, President Donald Trump pledges to send $200 drug cards or debit cards to Medicare recipients weeks before the election. Funding source is currently unclear. President Donald Trump unexpectedly announced that his administration will send $200 discount cards to 33 million older Americans to help them defray the costs of prescription drugs, appealing to a significant voting constituency weeks before the November elections. The president tucked the announcement into a speech that he portrayed as his health care vision, without including specifics about how the government would pay for it or which of the nation's Medicare recipients would receive it. White House officials said the price tag of about $7 billion could be paid for through an experimental program to lower Medicare drug prices that remains a proposal. And this is exactly the type of news that we've been seeing from the president. Almost every day or two, we're starting to see more things that the president and the White House are trying to do before the election to garner up as many votes as possible. This time, the president said he's going to send out $200 debit cards to be used for prescription drugs to over 33 million Americans on Medicare right now. This will cost about $7 billion, and we're just starting to see more and more programs that the president and the White House have been announcing almost on a daily basis to try to get as many votes as possible. And this is the exact kind of thing that we're going to see with the second stimulus check if they don't come to an agreement between the Republicans and the Democrats. The president is just going to do this exact type of thing and pass a presidential executive order for $1,200 stimulus checks and stimulus checks for dependents, probably of $500 from that $300 billion he says is just sitting in an account waiting to be spent from the first stimulus package. And Congress has already agreed on it and has already basically paid for the money, and it's now sitting in an account waiting to be spent. Now, we don't really know where the money is going to come from, but the government does print their own money. So do we really even need to know where the money is coming from? If it happens, that's all that really matters, is that $200 debit cards would go out to over 33 million of Americans on Medicare that are typically elder Americans that could really use the money right now, in addition to stimulus checks coming out in the future. Now, this was just announced. I will keep you guys updated as more information comes out about this, when they're going to go out, what are the details of it, who's going to receive it. And I think we're going to see the exact type of thing happen with possibly another stimulus check and an unemployment extension and money for small businesses as we get closer to the election. I really feel like they're just going to continue to drop this type of news and basically just do every single thing they can to win the election, with the president currently behind in the polls by about 5%. And that number is interesting because when Congress passed the first stimulus check, the president's approval rating magically went up by about 5%. And the president knows that, so he's going to try to do every single thing he can to pass more stimulus before the election. We also have a complete 180 from the Democrats and from Nancy Pelosi. Now they're trying to rush out another stimulus bill before Congress goes on their next recess. And it looks like the Democrats might be trying to gather some of the credit for passing another stimulus check and not leave it all to the president. In this bill that the Democrats are drafting right now, it's going to come out around 2.2 to 2.4 trillion dollars and will have enough money in it for stimulus checks and checks for dependents. We've been hearing some rumors from the Democrats that they might actually provide the checks this time around to dependents at the full amount of $1,200 and not $500, and that all dependents this time around would receive a check, not just people who were children, and it would include adult dependents and also college students who may have missed out on the dependent checks from the first stimulus package. Also, in this stimulus bill from the Democrats is unemployment extension that will likely go to either the end of the year or until January. So it actually might be a longer unemployment extension than has previously been thought. And the Democrats are expected to have a proposal of an unemployment extension of at least $450 per week on top of the regular unemployment money that people would get from their states for losing their job during this pandemic. It will probably go for at least 8 to 12 weeks going forward. There will also be money in there for small businesses and for schools of at least $100 billion. There's also likely to be money in there for the airlines to basically prevent them from going under and bankrupt and from laying off thousands of people by that October 1st deadline, that they have to keep their employees on the payroll until October 1st. And if they don't get more government funding, then they can lay off thousands of workers from the airline industries. There's also likely to be money for restaurants this time around also. So if you own a local restaurant, or anybody you know, you have a family restaurant, or just to support the small restaurants in your local city to prevent them from going out of business. With the president set to elect another Supreme Court justice, his third one already during the president's 4-year term, the House Democrats have introduced a new bill imposing term limits on Supreme Court justices. And if this bill were to pass, it would make it so they couldn't stay as a Supreme Court justice for life. Representative Ro Khanna from California, a Democrat from California, is the first vice chair of the Congressional Progressive Caucus, is spearheading efforts on a bill to impose term limits on Supreme Court justices. According to a draft copy of the legislation, justices would be capped to an 18-year tenure versus the lifetime appointment currently outlined in the Constitution. Current justices would be grandfathered in and would not have to step down from their roles. This bill would also make it so presidents could only select nominees during their first and their third year of their term, and the nominee would then be approved by the upper chamber or the Senate. And honestly, they should have another bill that's exactly like that, but term limits for congressmen, both in the House and the Senate, but then Congress would have to approve that. So would Congress approve a bill that limits them to not being in Congress forever? And, Nancy Pelosi and Mitch McConnell, Nancy Pelosi from the Democrats, the leader of the House, Speaker of the House, and Mitch McConnell, the lead Republican in the Senate, have both been in Congress since the 1980s and have been there for over 30 years. And I know a lot of people want term limits for congressmen and congresswomen because when you're in Congress for 30 plus years, it just feels like they lose touch with the common everyday people that they're supposed to be representing, and they lose touch with the common average everyday American, and they just get stuck up in this, politics game where they've just been doing it for so long that they really forget what the real issues are for average everyday people. You guys can let me know your thoughts down below in the comments. Do you think there should be term limits for congressmen and congresswomen? And I know it's crazy to think that you could be in Congress since the 1980s. And even the president choosing a new Supreme Court justice is strategy and not just picking who they think would be the best person. President Donald Trump will soon name his Supreme Court nominee as early as today, an announcement that will reveal whether he plans to go all in on Florida to win the Florida vote, which is a main swing state in the election, or if he will fire up the social conservatives in his base by choosing a different judge. The choice will likely come down to two contenders, Judge Amy Coney Barrett, a favorite among conservatives, and Judge Barbara Lagoa, a Cuban American from Florida, to secure more Florida votes for the election. Multiple sources familiar with the selection process say Barrett is the frontrunner and Lagoa is the only other candidate being seriously considered. And I covered in my earlier video that President Donald Trump won't commit to a peaceful transfer of power if he loses the election, and said that he could push it and contest it as far as the Supreme Court if he doesn't win the election. And remember, he will have personally appointed 3 of the 9 judges on the panel of the Supreme Court, which makes you wonder, if he does lose the election, if he could actually contend that and have enough votes to win, because he's personally appointed 3 of the 9 judges. And the Republicans will have 6 of the 9 votes being Republican judges. So let me know your thoughts on that in the comments, but with the way 2020 is going, I wouldn't put it past anything from happening at this point. It's just been a crazy year. So don't forget to give this video a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new and you haven't yet. This way you won't miss out on new videos. We have videos coming out at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I will keep you guys updated with all the new information. And you can click on these videos to watch my newest stimulus check videos next. And this video teaches you how to start a business selling products on Amazon FBA. I have students that have replaced their entire 9-to-5 income by selling products on Amazon, and I teach them how to do that. Click on one of those videos to watch them next. Thanks, and I will see you in the next video.